Okay, Kid Detective, which is Adam Brody plays Abe Applebaum, who's a small town investigator who, when he was a kid, was a local hero. He used to crack cases from his treehouse, the theft of school charity funds, the whereabouts of a missing time capsule. Then his childhood friend and assistant, Gracie, disappeared. He was out of his depth. He could never solve the case. It was a setback that ended his winning streak. He could never get over it. Now he's a washed up has been, a local joke. He gets drunk and beaten up, and he's still haunted by the one that got away and the fact that he still has to be bailed out by his parents now that he's a grown-up failure. Here's a clip.
How are your finances?
They're okay.
Credit card?
Could be worse.
As you know, we're not bailing you out again.
I had a big case last week.
Really? What was it?
You know I'm not supposed to talk about that stuff. This gay guy wanted me to find out whether another guy was gay.
Was he?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh. That's nice.
So now he's, running this adult detective agency, still getting rubbish cases. Then this high schooler, Caroline, comes in and gives him a real mystery. She wants him to find out who killed her boyfriend. And suddenly he sees there's a shot at redemption. If he solves this, if he cracks the case, he can redeem himself. The film is the feature debut from Evan Morgan, and it clearly owes a debt to films like Brick, the Rian Johnson high school neo-noir, Tyree Chapeau's Cellar in the Spades, similarly, high school neo-noir. Although, for my money, it's not as good as those films. And the issue with it is this. On the one hand, there's a kind of cynical, wisecracking caper comedy with a Disney-sounding title. I mean, The Kid Detective does make it sound like one of those, Disney picks that you would have crossed the street to avoid. And then it's got that bolted onto something which is much darker, which is that the grown-up section of the narrative actually goes from kind of wisecracking cynical comedy into something which is, genuinely quite shocking and, and dark. And I think the problem with the film is it doesn't quite know how funny it wants the funny bits to be and how serious it wants the serious bits to be, and more importantly, how it's going to wed those two things together. And I would refer you back to Patrick. Patrick is a tragicomedy which has both tragedy and comedy, and they live side by side, hand in hand, and they work in perfect harmony. This wants to have elements of both of those, doesn't have enough of either of them, and they don't sit easily together. That's not to say that there are not things about it that are interesting. I mean, it is stylishly put together. It's got a certain sort of sarcastic wit to it, and I think that it demonstrates filmmaking talent. But I never felt emotionally engaged in it. I never felt emotionally involved with it, because for me, the funny bits weren't funny enough, the tragic bits weren't tragic enough, and the tragicomedy never sat as easily together as it should have done. And again, if you want to see how it should have been done, look at Patrick.